So as we continue our study, I'm going to take you into a space where we dig in a little bit about the biology of sound and what that even means. So as we move into this question of sound, we need to understand that the human body is designed to be very sensitive to sound. Our ability to hear is one of the first senses to develop. Research shows that by the second trimester, the fetus responds to the voice of the mother. And once in the world, newborns feel a deep connection to that maternal vibration in the mother's voice because they've aligned with it for months. Research also shows that in the final months of life, the senses start to depart one at a time in a natural death. And with hearing being one of the last to go. And this is why we're encouraged to continue to speak to loved ones all the way through to the end. Even though they may not seem as if they can hear, they still feel that connection to the vibration of love. So hearing seems to be our first and our last mode of connection. We aren't just talking about the sound of the voice, but other sounds as well. In our developmental stages, we start to align with the vibrations of the environment that we're in. And it can make a huge difference to be in a nurturing, harmonious space, or to be in a stress-filled, anxiety space. A space with negative energy or positive energy is going to affect the outcome and the growth. Because when we hear, we're actually receiving vibrations, but not just in the ear. Our body receives the vibration of sound all the way through. That sound wave and the sound waves that come to us are vibrating through matter. Studies show that those vibrations move through all types of matter, solid matter, fluid, and gas. And the density of the matter determines that the speed at which it's received. So the matter that the sound moves through is the carrier of the energy, whether it's the air or water or a solid space. It's all about vibration. The interesting thing is, the denser the matter, the faster those vibrations reach you. The less dense, the longer it takes for those waves to be carried because they're carried through the matter itself. So sound moving through air takes longer than sound moving through a denser material like water, because in the air, the molecules are further apart, but in water, they're closer together. So the sound wave passes more quickly from one molecule to the next. The vibrations transmitted as sound are measured in hertz, which captures the frequency with which the vibrations occur every second. For example, if you play the middle C note on a piano, it's 262 hertz. Every moment, every second, 262 vibrations are there when the key is struck. In the human voice, a typical adult female singing a lullaby is transmitting between 165 and 255, where a typical male voice transmits 85 to 180. So we need to understand the physical hearing that we hear through our ears is different than the feeling that we feel through our body, but there is the sound in both ways. So as sound is received into the ear, it's sent to the brain as electrical impulses that the brain interprets, labels, defines. In the ear, sound passes to the eardrums and into the middle ear, where there are three tiny bones called ossicles. These bones form the chain that transmits sound waves into the cochlea. That cochlea is that snail-shaped structure that's filled with liquid, and it's covered with tiny hair cells, which are the receptors of the audio. When the ossicles move, the cochlear fluid begins to vibrate, causing the hair cells to shift as well. And the different hair cells respond to different speeds of sound waves. Some are more responsive to higher pitch frequencies, like babies crying, while others are responsive to lower pitches, like the humming or like growling of animals. The movement of these hair cells transform the vibrations into electrical signals that move through the fibers running through the ears, through the auditory canal, to the brain, where the information's decoded, processed, labeled. Again, the auditory canal is also good at enhancing the sound waves we need to receive and reduce any distractions. So the distractions are tuned out with so once the brain deciphers the code, within about an eighth of a second, those vibrations become language or music, sounds of the birds or waves, while also telling us where that sound came from, the direction, and determining the tone, the energy, the power behind it. This is what happens every time we hear a sound, but that's just a part of it. In addition to that miracle of our hearing, vibrations are felt through the skin, through the fluid and the bones that make us up, making our entire body a receptor. We hear, we feel those pressure waves through our skin, as well as through the water that makes us up. And because water is denser than air, we feel sound 4 times faster in our bodies than we hear it in our minds. That's an amazing thing, because when we receive that information in our body, we can almost already have an idea of what it's about. So sound can be transported through the bone, which is denser than air, right? And that's why tuning fork therapy directs the therapist to place the tuning fork on bone rather than soft tissue. Tuning forks have been used by doctors to determine if a patient has a fracture. A clear tone indicates an uninjured bone. But if the sound is diminished or absent, it indicates an interruption in the sound waves and the presence of a fracture. And as you'll learn further in the study of tuning forks, passing that tuning fork over a body, you can tell the difference in a tone as it passes over a healthy part of the body and a part of the body that's in a space of dis-ease. So when we talk about sound range, we know that there are frequencies that are too high or too low for the human ear to perceive. However, these frequencies can usually be registered through our nervous system. We can feel them. Anything below 20 hertz or higher than 20,000 hertz can't be heard, but can be felt. Knowledge of these higher and lower frequencies has helped the medical field. For instance, in an ultrasound that's often used in pregnancy, or in helping search the organs for kidneys or livers looking for stones or tumors. The ultrasound uses a frequency of 10 megahertz to send sound waves through soft tissue and fluid. When the waves encounter something dense, such as a fetus, they echo back. The echo back produces an electrical signal that becomes an image that shows as various shades of gray, reflecting different densities. Medicine also uses frequencies below 20 hertz to break up kidney stones and gallstones. This procedure uses the sound waves to break up that dense material into smaller pieces that can pass through the body. Sound, as medicine, we just can't hear it. There are so many other uses for sound in Western medicine, all of which use sound that is inaudible to the human ear. There are a few examples of sound that we can hear being used as a medical tool. If we reflect back on how the human body is really an amazing conductor of sound through our skin and our bones and all of the water that makes us up, it makes sense that with both audible and inaudible vibrations, we have a profound effect on so much of our being. A recent study at Columbia University showed that the human body picks up audible and inaudible sound at the cellular level, which is what we teach. In this study, it was determined that there are antenna-like structures containing a wide array of proteins on the membranes of our cells. Those, those structures that receive and respond to the fields of energy around us, different light and different radio frequencies. So that vibration resonates with the receptors. It alters the protein charges, causing the cell to change shape. That's an amazing breakthrough. This discovery aligns perfectly with the ancient practice of sound healing. Sound can change the structure of the cells in our body. It affects us. Sound affects us at a cellular level. So that can be used either to positively interact with the cell or negative. It's also known that defects in the primary cilia are linked to illnesses and disorders ranging from arthritis to kidney disease to obesity and heart failure, etc. If the structure of a cell is receptive to vibrational frequencies, the implication is that sound waves have the capacity to reshape the cellular structure in a way that could possibly help treat various disorders and diseases. Of course, the medical field's just beginning to dive deep into these uses, but the science more and more is starting to match up with the theory that's been used in Eastern medicine and in holistic practices for centuries. This is the principle upon which our practice is built. When we are ill, the body's natural order of frequencies altered. But when exposed to certain external frequencies and rhythms, our natural order can be returned. We bring ease to the dis-ease and harmony to this disharmony, thus aligning us with our natural state of being. This practice has been passed down from ancient Egyptians, shamans, aborigines, Tibetan monks, and numerous other cultures. We'll study those in just a moment. From using various chants and mantras, songs, and instruments, they've been restoring the natural frequencies of the body, mind, and soul for centuries. They understood instinctively what science is just beginning to understand. There's a direct relationship between the sounds around us and our health and well-being. As we study entrainment, we know rhythm can alter our heartbeat, our breathing, our brain waves. We know when our body hears an alarming sound, it triggers a flood in our body, filling us with different hormones such as adrenaline and cortisol. And this initiates a string of other physiological consequences. Our muscles tense, our heart races, our pupils dilate, our blood vessels constrict, and our hearing sharpens. Sound triggers the stress response in the same way seeing a danger jump in front of us does. By contrast, when the body hears soothing sounds, it can trigger the response of relaxation, of ease, of calm. It can trigger the stress recovery response in the body. When we hear sounds that mimic nature, such as the sound of rain or waves, or singing of birds, or the whisper of the wind, our body is triggered into rest and into restoration. As we listen to the waves flow into the shore, our heart rate slows, the blood vessels open up, and the body releases oxytocin and dopamine, and we're able to feel peaceful and even recover. When those hormones are increased, other more stress-induced hormones decrease. Common sense tells us when we hear the serene music or the sound of soft rain, we feel calm. There are, however, a complex series of events that occur between external and internal frequencies. When we feel calm and peaceful, the fundamental system at work are resonance and entrainment. Resonance. As we learned a little bit in level 1, we know that resonance occurs when one object vibrates at the same frequency as another. That forces the second object to begin to vibrate. When a C tuning fork is struck, for example, and placed next to another C fork, the second fork will begin to vibrate at the same frequency as the first. The first tuning fork has imparted some of its energy to the second one. If the stem of that tuning fork were placed on a table or glass or bone, that object too would begin to vibrate at that frequency. This resonance is shown in our life in how we seem to resonate with certain people, those that we seem to be in tune with, and not with others. In the same way, every organ, bone, and cell in our body has its own resonant frequency. Altogether, all of our parts make up this amazing symphony that is our vibration. If one organ or cell is out of tune, it affects the entire body. This is why in sound therapy, we use our instruments to bring the body back into harmony and reconnect our clients with the harmony that is there for us. Once a person's brought back into resonance, they're able to sustain that through entrainment. Again, as we studied in level 1, entrainment refers to the synchronization of organisms to an external or internal rhythm. We see the law of entrainment occur so often in the natural world. If you ever saw a flock of birds flying in migration, they tend to flap their wings and glide at the same time in order to conserve energy. They move in collaboration in order to take advantage of the pocket of air created by each bird in front of the other, because it takes less energy for the bird to pulse in cooperation. Nature will always, over time, align with the most functional, efficient state. That's what it does. In our practice, we know that entrainment can be used to bring brain wave patterns into synchrony. We can make nearly the entire body begin to entrain with the rhythms of a drum beat or a gong wave. Look, entrainment was in practice in so many ancient traditions. Through a steady rhythm and beating of drums and rattles, shaman moved to altered states of consciousness that enabled them, and this is why they work in this place, to take a mental jump that led them back into their rhythm, back into a healthy rhythm. It's said that the steady, monotonous beat of drums act as the carrier wave to help move the shaman into different states of consciousness, and then helps them sustain that journey. Entrainment can be defined as the process in which the rhythmic vibrations of one object are projected on another object, thereby causing that object to vibrate in resonance with the first object. In terms of sound, we use the sound waves to entrain the human organism, causing us to vibrate in resonance with the sound wave we are putting out. And studies show that stress and depression and hopelessness can depress every aspect of our immune system. But through the process of entrainment, sound can transform negative, repressed emotions into a state of psychological steadiness that has direct and immediate effects on our overall well-being. Sound entrainment can restore harmony between our innermost selves and the universal field of energy, in some ways reconnecting us with our spiritual essence, our one true authentic vibration. Harmony. I ask you now to open your mind, to look past the senseless messages that tend to show an imbalance or disconnection between man and nature. Imagine that all of creation, atoms, planetary objects, orbits, herds of animals moving from one place to another, the ocean and the air, every aspect of our physiological being are all at their most optimal when we're in harmony. The universal field of energy tends to lean towards harmony. The energy of the universe is harmonious. German psychologist Gunther Hildebrandt said, "The human organism is not only constructed according to harmonic principles, but also functions best when operating within these principles." All of the systems of our body, muscular, nervous, respiratory, circulatory, are meant to operate according to a set rhythm. Our heart and our breath flow in harmony when we're aligned with health and vitality. And in doing so, we entrain the entire body to be in harmony. These same principles of harmony and entrainment that operate within our bodies is apparent when we communicate with each other. We all know people who we connect with immediately, those who we seem to click with right away. Perhaps that click is our unconscious awareness that entrainment has just occurred with that person, that we got their rhythm and it matched ours. Great speakers have a way of entraining with those they speak with, thus having the people listening to them almost enthralled in the conversation or the lecture. Think of a great speaker like Martin Luther King Jr., who spoke in poetic phrases, who had a great pace and rhythm. He had a vocal power that matched his words and aligned with his intentions, which altogether enveloped his being and entrained those who around him to entrain and resonate with him. The speaker and his listeners became so in tune with one another that the words can't be described on how that connection was made and how powerful it was. What we're doing, what we should be doing, is creating this healing partnership with our client, with the group that we're working with. As a healer, this knowledge is priceless. When we're open to sharing our energetic rhythm, along with our intention, along with our knowledge and our skills, we've set the stage for success. I believe one of the ways my clients connect with me deeply is that I am open to sharing my energetic rhythm and offer them the space to receive it. I hold them in that space. I send the energy out. I'm not protecting it, although I do have boundaries, but I put it out so that I can entrain them to match my energy, or at least feel connected to it and want it becomes magnetic. Remember, the strongest vibration in the space has the potential to bring all the other vibrations into resonance with it. Potential is the key there, because not everyone's ready. Not everyone's even able to receive the energy that we put out. But if we put it out, when they're ready, they will. In our practice, we have to be able to form this vibrational partnership with those we're working with to be successful. Reiki practitioners do this when they work with their clients. When we offer this partnership, we begin to build a level of trust and acceptance, resonance. What is trust, if not a kind of resonance between two people or a group of people? We should work with our clients to create an atmosphere in which a healing partnership can thrive. One of my favorite ways of doing so is to introduce my client to a healing instrument, a Himalayan bowl, a crystal bowl, so that they can entrain with the sound waves as well as my voice. So maybe we have a conversation, and then to truly bring them into the present, I can use something like a Himalayan bowl for a moment and just have them close their eyes and feel the vibration. Or tingsha bell, something that will bring them into the present, but also entrain their brain. And then what do? I speak in that rhythm. I put out that energy, and I have them right there, and they're in a space to receive. Another opportunity to entrain right away with a client can be found in the often overlooked tool in our practice, that tingsha bell. Just as I said, tingsha bells are those small bells that are shaped like tiny cymbals. We covered them in level 1. But studies show when tinkshas are rung, each one produces a slightly different tone. And this tonal difference causes the bells to emit an extremely low frequency between 4 and 8 cycles per second. And this is the range that the brain waves occur that reach in meditation. So the ringing of these bells can entrain the brain waves to move into the same frequencies. Tingsha have been used for centuries to initiate meditation, and now we know why. I've used tingsha over the years to signify the start of a meditation. I didn't always know why, I just knew that they seemed to work. So our ability to entrain and experience harmony allows us to feel our connection with the world. Without entrainment, we would exist in isolation from rather than being in harmony with the universal field of energy. Healing then is fundamentally about restoring the harmony from the disharmony and bringing ease to the dis-ease, which allows us to reconnect to our own true essence, our one true vibration, our authentic self. When properly used, sound can specifically entrain the human being towards a greater harmony and a natural vibration that is required to be vibrant and to heal from injury or illness, from stress, anxiety, from trauma. The properties of sound healing, intention, entrainment, resonance, and harmony represent the foundation of our practice and should never be overlooked. Those four things, intention, entrainment, resonance, and harmony. Having an idea of what those are and how you use them is what's going to make you a master. A master knows the intention. A master knows how to use entrainment. A master knows what resonance is. And a master knows that the ultimate goal is harmony, to bring harmony to the whole being, to align us with the harmony of the universal field of energy. That's what our practice is all about. So welcome. Welcome to the truth that this is what makes a master of sound healing. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter which instruments you use, but using that knowledge matters.